Oh, I'm here. Nobody else is.
Hello.
Hello.
Mad at the world?
Huh?
You mad at the world?
No,
You didn't see it, but
I wasn't looking at myself. Reading down at the bottom there, what I'm trying to read. but
Al
it's-
Keller is connecting.
Must be Big Al. See, it's got capital A-L.
Maybe he's one of those AI people that is supposed to be an I.
Oh, well.
Oh, did he hear that?
Yeah, we heard it.
Okay, can you see me and hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. Zach, am I a host? Uh-oh. I think you usually make me host.
Danny's coming.
Oh, good. Now let's see what I can do while we're waiting for that to happen.
Can you make sure you're host?
Okay, more. I gotta find out.
So,
Share. Share is not turned on.
No, she's not.
Well, that's what it's supposed to do.
But he's not done it.
Okay,
He's probably not host. I share.
here we go.
You have a share button.
Okay.
Hey, Evan.
Zach, are you there?
No.
I may have to call Zach.
Hmm.
Let's see now. I don't think he has me as a host.
hello in Japan. He doesn't hear. I guess he doesn't hear.
What about at the top?
Okay. If I hit there, nothing happens.
I mean, at the top of the computer, completely at the top.
Well, let's get
Is there
this
anything
on.
there?
Well, that's it right there. That's where it should be.
Okay.
If I go there,
Hello, I'm on the wrong computer, so I gotta log out and log back
it's
in.
recording.
Good
What about
morning.
at the top?
Okay. If I hit there, nothing happens. It is recording,
Completely at
and the audio is there. Well, that's it right there. That's where it should be.
Okay.
Okay. If I go there,
Hello, I'm on the wrong computer, so I gotta log out and log back
it's
in.
recording. Okay, let me call Zach and see if he can make me host.
Why did you call him at 5 this?
Well, I didn't call him at 5 to 6 because I was busy.
It's the same
I
thing.
got everything caught up though.
Okay.
Okay, I gotta see if he makes me host. And then we can go.
I'm back.
And maybe he already has, and I'm doing something wrong. I don't think so.
Just read it out.
No. Okay. Where's Zach? Hello, Zach. Be you there? No, he's not. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That means he could too if he was there. Well, I can't help it. I'm not host. Nothing I can do with that.
No, but this is already silent.
Oh,
Why don't you just talk about the sharing stuff?
well, I can't do any. Yeah, I may not have to. I
Did
may
you
not be able
put
to.
it out? Why about that?
Would Evan taking turns?
Yeah, right back. How are you guys?
Hello? Hello, Zach. Can you make me host on in the class? It's not coming up. It's not letting me do it. Thank you very much. Bye.
It's like playing with something back there.
Did you reach him?
I didn't,
Oh,
and he's not there. Okay. Let's see. Is there anything? Let's see if I hit chat. There it goes. This is much like the classroom situation now.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I think I can go on even if I don't, if he doesn't get it, but
Did it make you host?
Direct, it's going to go direct. Okay, now we're back. Well, we still can get started. You just won't see what I have down here. And there should, let me check something else here. Because it has share.
Mhm.
See, it's lit. Now let me try something else. View. Nothing. Workplace. Video. That's it. No, that's the only one. And when I hit it, nothing happens. So it's not gonna.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let us open with prayer. Again, Heavenly Father, we now begin after a long hiatus back into Genesis. As we go through this, there's some very interesting things come up. Teach us as we go through this. And if we think about it, it's very much like life today. Not much different than all of us today. As we go through this, help us as we begin to see how you're guiding the world for the reception of your Son and the glorious gospel. In your Son's name, Father, guide us. Amen. Okay. We're on chapter 27, so my wife informs me. And I have to believe that. She wrote it down, yeah. And that's what we did last night. And we kind of moved ahead on this one here.
On 30.
But yes,
We're on 30.
30? Good.
30?
I'm even glad. I bet that's even better.
So you had a class without me?
No, you were just sloppy. And you see, you don't blame them now because you didn't keep it up.
I did ask you and I wrote it down. You said you wanted to start at 27. I was going.
Now, wait, I didn't say I started. I said where we stopped.
Okay. All right.
You should be an obedient wife and not make a big fight now. Later on, you can do that.
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
I wrote it down.
As we get into this again, if my fingers allow me to
Okay.
turn the page. You know, it's one thing about old age I never thought we'd lose our fingerprints. And I never realized how important fingerprints are just for turning a dumb page.
Just spit on.
Okay, spit on the page or on my finger. Okay, as we go through all this material, we're going into this. Now, one thing I found, we started reading ahead. I've been reading ahead on this, and I'm already to Joseph's world.
We're together already. Yeah.
But as you go through this, we tend, as I said today in a sermon and really in church, we read things and we follow. But I'm not sure how much thought we actually put in comparing or thinking about what it is. We're at a point now where Jacob has an interesting situation here. He married Rachel and ended up with Leah. And then he had to work with Leah. And there's a couple of things that go on with that and that problem that they were having. And it's understanding the dynamic of that world. Now, in today's world, there is one thing that's kind of sad, and it'll change. It always does. Children aren't that important anymore. For some, it really is, and particularly for women who can't have children, that becomes very critical. We've had to go through that, Rosalie and I, on how to work this out. But by and large, many don't like them, so it leaves you kind of hanging out there. But in this world, they're very, very important. In other parts of the world, they're very important. I mean, I have a number of Brits people from Britain that I'm working with, and I've heard some stories about Britain not being very religious and things like that. And my experience is, they don't know what they're talking about. These kids are from large families. They very much dearly love their brothers and sisters. They want to make sure when they get married, their wife or their husband wants a large family. So it's interesting listening to that. And it helps you if we begin to think like that and understand that part of it. Excuse me. Then the struggle that's going to end up between Leah and Rachel is going to be fairly obvious. Leah realizes she was kind of forced. She ended up with a guy who didn't want her. So somehow she's got to win his approval. Rachel is a little upset because the guy she wanted, she has now share. In that world, they would have known it. They probably would have to do that. But it's, there's this competition that's set up between them. The other thing is, and this is really helpful on this to understand, Leah is probably, well, she has bad eyes. Zach. Hi, Zach. She has bad eyes. So she has a handicap. And the other thing is she realizes, at least from hers, she's second rate. Rachel is the cute one. And she knows the one, Jacob makes it very, very clear that
Rachel first.
he wanted Rachel in first place. Now let's see what happens here if I can do this.
You make,
Nope. Yeah.
we're asking.
Zach, can you make me host?
Yeah, you're host now. You're host.
Oh, okay. Let's see if I can share now. I've been hitting the share button, nothing happens. Okay. Share screen options, right? Okay, now what are you going to do here? Okay, I don't think that's what we want. Nope, that's not what I wanted either. Just bear with me again as I dance through this ridiculous little scene. The whole thing disappeared. There we go. And I'll take that, and that'll bring it where it was. Okay, now what is it? There. That's a different share. Now, why isn't this working? There's the share. Share. Okay, no, I went too fast. There it is. Now I got it. Got it now. Okay, can you see the screen? Now we spend a lot of time on it, but it just gives us this Bilhah and Zilpah. There is something that's very interesting about this. As we've been going through Genesis, I don't know what you picked out of it, but one of the things I noticed about it so far is it's so comprehensive. In the beginning, when you look at the angels, you realize God had music. But when you get to Cain, about the 4th chapter, 5th chapter, that early chapter where Cain comes in, what is actually going on there is his group is moving into the arts. So he's going to take the arts and pollute them if he can. And not meaning, but he's going to do it. That's what he's going to do there. And you don't get that one way unless you really think about what's happening there. So you're going to have God's music and earth music, if you will. Now, here's the same thing. You have the names. If you read it, I'm thinking, does your Bibles, when you get the names of these guys, do they give you the names of the children and the meanings of the name? If they do, most of them do. Now, I don't know if all of the Bibles do. But when they give you that meaning, you see how it fits. And what the name means. There's a meaning to these names. Now, Leah has had some kids, and she's thinking, wow, because children are so important. And he's going to have now, with Leah, she has heirs that she can give. And Rachel hasn't. That gives her a very positive benefit in her own world. So now the problems are going to start. Remember Abraham. You're going to have a son. Well, I can't have a son. Take my servant. Take my maid. And this is what happens. And same thing happens here. It's kind of a comical world if it wasn't so, if you can't sympathize with poor Jacob, because his wives are trying to get at it. They're competing with each other.
That's what it comes from him, 2 wives, right?
And, well, 2 wives.
Yeah, that's the problem. God told
But
him.
he didn't know what he got. Remember, it's a little different world, and it's kind of fun when you read it, but not for poor Jacob. And then the women start competing with each other. So give me a child, give me a child, give me a child, give me a child. It's almost like you're bringing in breakfast to them. because they're in such fierce competition. And that gives you an idea of what Jacob's world, what that little world was like. The names of the sons, too. The other thing, watch, because, and I give you a heads up on this one, which I never thought about before, but it's there. The sons of Jacob, 12. Judah is Leah's son. Benjamin is Rachel's son. Joseph is too. Joseph is divided into two tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim. But they from that point on, once they come into the children of Israel, into that, they don't count for much, it seems. They're always at enemies and at odds. But they're from the Egyptians. Now, as you begin to understand that and watch the dynamic that sets up in that world, then watch where the trouble actually comes from. It's very interesting watching, because I could sympathize with Jacob and Leah and Rachel with the problems they were having with their kids. The other thing is that in the long run, Leah's kids, with the exception of Judah, is destroyed. And
Sure.
Rachel's children, with the exception of Benjamin, is destroyed.
Well, Joseph wasn't destroyed.
So, yeah, well,
Well,
definitely
he was taken
Manasseh
away.
and Ephraim
Yeah.
were. So this is kind of
From his tribe.
the in thing as you're watching this. And what's also helpful is as you're reading this, you get a sense of the world and what it was really like. Leah, it seems, had a bunch of gang members. I mean, they were doing everybody in. And if they crossed, the other thing was, though, God was preparing them for something. The other, and why, when we get to Joseph, that'll be another one. So when you look at the sons of Bilhah, 1 to 13, and when Rachel, and I'm just going now to 30, and when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, and said unto Jacob, give me children, or else I die. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel. He said, am I in God's stead, who hath withheld from thee the fruit of the womb? See, this is one place where we realize, at least we should if you're reading the Bible, God is the one who gives children. Which means when you look at something like abortion, the horror of it. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel. And he said, am I in God's stead, who can withhold from thee the fruit of the womb? And she said, behold, my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her. See? And the one thing that does come out is that in this case, God's going to deal with it differently. When you saw with Abraham, he didn't accept it when from the maid. It was going to come from Sarah. And she gave him Bilhah, and her handmaid to wife, and Jacob went in unto her, and Bilhah conceived, and bare Jacob a son. And Rachel said, God hath judged me, and hath also heard my voice, and hath given me a son. Therefore called he his name Dan. See, one of the tribes. And Rachel said, God hath judged me, and hath also heard my voice, and hath given me a son called Dan. And Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again, and bare Jacob a second son. And Rachel said with great wrestling, have I wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed? And she called his name Naphtali. Now, again, reading this, I mean, if you were reading a novel, when they have these sons, you're going to follow what each son does. But we don't in the Bible. But if you do, it's an amazing little picture unfolds.
No.
And again, as we continue on here, when Leah saw that she had left bearing, she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her to Jacob to wife. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a son. And Leah said, a troop cometh, and she called his name Gad.
The truth.
Yeah. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a second son. And Leah said, happy am I, for the daughters will call me blessed. Remember that?
Mhm.
That's going to come with, you'll hear this phrase again
Mary.
with Mary. And she called his name Asher. And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field and brought them unto his mother Leah. When Rachel said to Leah, give me, I pray thee, of thy son's mandrakes. And she said unto her, is it a small matter that thou hast taken my husband? And wouldst thou take away my son's mandrakes also? So see, there's a situation here that's kind of sad. The modern world would say Jacob, and if they would have, they'd probably say Jacob's lucky. The problem is when you really look at what's going on with Jacob, it's really the guy's under all kinds of pressure. Now with the mandrakes was supposedly to add fertility.
Was that what-
And this is what it was all about. And Rachel
Is it
said,
true?
therefore, and Rachel said, therefore, he shall lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes. So she says, Jacob will sleep with you tonight if I can have your mandrakes. And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, thou must come in unto me, for surely I have hired thee with my son's mandrakes. And he lay with her that night. I mean, this, in many ways, we speed through this. And you may or may not be interested in it, but there is definitely a dynamic here that you don't necessarily see in this world.
Frenchman explains what a mandrake is.
Yeah, what is it?
Read it right here. The berries.
Oh, yeah, it's a berry though. Yeah, he said Reuben at the time about 4 or 5 years old. Now, Reuben's about 4 or 5 years old. This is what I like about this one particular book. Found the berries of the mandrake in the field. These berries are yellow, strong, but sweet smelling, about the size of nutmeg, and were generally believed to promote fruitfulness and to take the place of a love portion. So you get an idea. Reuben's only 4 or 5 years old, and he's the oldest. So what is happening there? So as they struggle through this, this little battle that they're having, and Jacob came out of the, let me go down. And God hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived and bare Jacob the 5th son. And Leah said, God hath given me my hire, because I have given my maiden to my husband. And she called his name Ishkar. Now realize, this is when we think about Jacob's sons, they're Jacob's sons, but they come from Leah, they come from Zilpah, they come from Bilhah, and they're coming from Rachel. And that means they're stepsons. And stepsons, that's going to be an interesting situation. It'll help you understand why the sons of Leah are not going to be too friendly with Joseph.
Right.
He's a stepbrother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And again, and after which she bare a daughter. No, excuse me. And Leah said, God hath endowed me with a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zebulun. And afterwards she bare a daughter and called her name Dinah. And this is going to be something, because if you read, Rose and I were talking about this, if you read this, we have an idea of who these families are. Realize Dinah, when she gets older, is going to be a very modern girl. Dad, mom don't know what they're talking about, so she can get involved in something and get raped. But it's not going to come out the way they want it to. And God remembered Rachel, and God hearkened to her and opened her womb. And she conceived and bare a son, and said, God hath taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph, and said, the Lord shall add to me another son. And it came to pass when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Jacob said to Laban, send me away, that I may go into mine own place, into my own country. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served thee, and let me go, for thou knowest my service which I have done thee. So now with his sons that he has, and he hasn't had Benjamin yet. And Laban said unto him, I pray thee, if I have found favor in thy eyes, tarry, for I have learned from experience that the Lord hath blessed me for thy sake. It's an interesting, and I often wondered about this, but I found it's really true. You know, when we actually live and really try to live the life God wants us to, and most people don't. I mean, if you know, how long most people are into the Bible, and they don't know it. And so as a result, they don't build this relationship with God. But when you do, you begin to see changes take place in your life. And what has happened here, they recognize, the people around Jacob, and this will be with Joseph too, will recognize that things go too well for them. It's a very unusual situation. Everything they touch turns to gold, it seems. And Laban has recognized this.
He's become very rich.
And he said, appoint me and he said, appoint me thy wages, and I'll give it. And he said unto him, thou knowest how I have served thee, and how thy cattle was with me. Cattle, now when you're looking at cattle, don't think of cows.
Everything.
It's all of the domestic animals and all that they're keeping. Camels, goats, sheep, cattle. And he said unto him, thou knowest that the servant served thee cattle, that thy cattle was with me. For it was little which thou hast before I came, and is now increased unto a multitude. And the Lord hath blessed thee since my coming. And now when shall I provide for my own house? I've been taking care of your stuff, and you've been blessed by it, but what about me? He said, what shall I give thee? And Jacob said, thou shalt not give me anything. Again, this is much like Abraham was saying. If thou wilt do this thing for me, I will again feed and keep thy flock. I will pass through all thy flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep. See, it's among the sheep too here. And the spotted and speckled among the goats. And of such shall be my hire. Because they're not interested. You're going to be selling this material, the hair of these animals for dyeing and things like that. If you got multicolors on them, they're not going to be interested. So I'll take all your multicolored ones. So shall my righteousness answer for me in time to come, when I shall come for my hire before thy face.
Hire.
Yeah, hire, when he's going to be paid. Everyone that is not speckled and spotted among the goats and brown among the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me. See, he's saying, okay, let me move up. And I think I'll skip a whole bunch of pages, I think. No, I got it. Yeah. So he says, if I have any solid colored animals, they're stolen. And he says, you count it that way. So he's only going to have all these spotted animals. And Laban said, behold, I would it might be according to thy word. And he removed that day the he-goats that were ring-straked and spotted, and all the she-goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it, and all the brown among the sheep, and gave them unto the hand of his sons. This is what Jacob's going to do. They start out early, going to be watching, raising these animals. And Jacob took him rods of green poplar and of the hazel and chestnut tree, and piled white stakes in them, and made the white appear which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he had piled before the flock in the gutters, in the water troughs, when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when they came to drink. And the idea is kind of confusing, but what I got out of it, the idea is if the water is spotted and it's not really clear, they're going to have spotted animals. If the water's clear, they won't. I can't go. I'm not being a farmer, so I don't understand what that all means. But general, that's what he's saying here. He's going to take these different colored woods and spotted and all and put them in the water. And it's almost as if they're going to be giving off something.
So he'll get more spotted.
So to get more spotted ones.
Strange.
Now, and and the flocks conceived before the rods and brought forth cattle, ring straight, speckled, and spotted. And Jacob did separate the lambs and set the faces of the flocks toward the ring stake and all the brown in the flock of Laban. And he put his own flocks by themselves and put them not unto Laban's cattle. And it came to pass whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. But when the cattle were feeble, he did not in. So the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. See, and this is something God's doing. I don't understand it. But
This is pretty good.
What does he say?
Well, I can't explain it off to you. By the second device, the black goats and the white sheep were always kept by themselves.
Right.
Nothing
The
in
south,
their own herd exciting their attention.
right.
Whereas the herd of the spotted and speckled animals in plain view were bound to make an impression upon the animals at the time of breeding. And it came to pass whatsoever the stranger cattle did conceive, that the stronger cattle did conceive, that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutter,
Right.
that they might conceive among the rods.
And that's going
And
to
he
give,
said in the very midst of the pill.
it's going to give the speckled ones.
This was in the spring, for the lambs and the kids born in the fall were considered the stronger and better.
Yeah. So it's an interesting thing as you read it. I don't understand it fully, but I'm understanding one thing, that God is playing a major role in all of this. Well,
Yeah, because he succeeded
Yeah.
in obtaining some of the wages which were
Right.
so richly due him.
He's going to get it by
years.
getting the sheep.
Yeah, God's going to help him pay
And the
that.
man increased exceedingly and had much cattle and maid servants and men servants and cattle and asses. Now we go to 31. And he heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob hath taken away all that was our father's, and in that which was our father's hath he gotten all his glory. See, the Lord has blessed Jacob in his
They're
division,
jealous.
and the sons now are getting upset.
Mhm.
And the Lord said unto Jacob, Return unto the land of thy fathers and to thy kindred, and I will be with thee. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not toward him as before. Laban's upset. And the Lord said unto Jacob, again, return to that land. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field unto his flocks, and he said unto them, I see your father's countenance, and it is not toward me as before, but the God of my father hath been with me, and ye know that with all my power I have served your father, and your father hath deceived me, and changed my wages 10 times. But God suffered him not to hurt me. If he said thus, the speckled shall be thy wages, then all the cattle were speckled. And if he said thus, the ring straight shall be thy hire, then all the cattle were ring straight. Thus God hath taken away the cattle of your father and given them to me.
Okay.
See, he's making it clear God's the one involved in this.
Mhm.
And it came to pass at the time that the cattle conceived, that I lifted up mine eyes and saw in a dream, and behold, the rams which leaped upon the cattle were ring straight, speckled, and grizzled. And the angel of the Lord spake unto me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, Here am I. And he said, Lift up now thine eyes and see, all the rams which leap upon the cattle are ring straight, speckled, and grizzled. For I have seen all that Laban doeth unto thee. I am the God of Bethel. Now that's where, remember where he put his head, and he said he's going to build something, altar for God.
So he slept on her.
And he said, yeah. I lost my place. That's all.
13,
Yeah.
13.
Thou anointed the pillar, and where thou vowest to vow unto me, now rise, get thee out from this land, and return unto the land of thy kindred. And Rachel and Leah answered and said unto him, is there yet any portion of inheritance for us in our father's house? Is he going to give us something? You know, if you think of the dowry, that's, and are we not counted of him strangers? For he hath sold us and hath quite devoured also our money. See, like the dowry, ate it all up. For all the riches which God hath taken from our father, that is ours and our children's. Now then, and whatsoever God hath said unto thee, do. So there's a lot of problems here with Jacob, but God's going to bring it out. And he carried away all his cattle and all his goods, which he had gotten to the cattle of his gettings, which he had gotten at Padanaram, for to go to Isaac his father in the land of Canaan. And Laban went to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the images that were her father's.
That's a problem with her.
Now this is going to create a problem. See, Rachel's an interesting kid. She's really spoiled, but she's going to steal her father's images.
They're
And
idols,
Jacob,
right?
yeah, they're idols. And Jacob stole away unawares to Laban the Syrian. Now see, now we find out he's a Syrian, Laban, in that he told them not that he fled. He didn't tell them that. Now, do you remember that Laban is whose brother? You remember that?
My father's brother.
No, Rebecca.
Laban is Rebecca's brother. That's right. That's just Laban's son.
Right. Okay.
No,
Rebecca, that's Isaac's wife.
either. Wait, I'm confused now.
Now,
Who's Laban?
he's Rebecca's brother.
Okay.
Now, Rachel had taken the image,
Oh, that's right.
not
Rebecca.
35, and she said to her father, let it not displease my lord. Now, oh wait, let me go back up. I'm missing something. Yes.
And you went 22, 23.
Yeah, I went to the other side. And he took his brethren with him and pursued after them 7 days' journey, and they overtook him in the Mount Gilead. So it's going to be pretty easy for Laban to catch up with him. Joseph's got all his flock he's got to move. He's got his family to do. And Laban's going after him with just his forces. He can't do much as his daughter. Anyway. Okay.
32, 35.
Yeah, I'm good. No.
Oh,
Yeah, no.
24. 24.
And God came to Laban the Syrian in a dream by night, and said unto him, take a heed that thou speak not to Jacob, either good or bad. Then Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mount, and Laban with his brethren pitched in the Mount of Gilead. All these places you're going to hear again when we get into Exodus. And Laban said to Jacob, what hast thou done, that thou hast stolen away unawares to me, and carried away my daughters as captives taken with the sword? Wherefore didst thou flee away secretly and steal away from me, and didst not tell me, that I might have sent thee away with mirth, and with song, with tabernet, and with harp, and hast not suffered me to kiss my sons and my daughters? Thou hast now done foolishly in so doing. See, Laban's claiming the whole thing. It is in the power of my hand to do you hurt. But the God of your father spake unto me overnight, saying, take heed that thou speak not to Jacob, either good or bad.
So he told him.
And now, though thou wouldest needs be gone, because thou sure longest after thy father's house, yet wherefore hast thou stolen my gods? Now, this is another problem he's
That's
created.
what Rachel has.
Right. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, because I was afraid, for I said, peradventure, thou wouldest take by force thy daughters from me. With whomsoever thou findest thy gods, let him not live. before our brethren discern thou what is thine with me, and take it to thee. For Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen them. See, there's quite a dynamic here going on.
Mhm.
And Rachel had taken the images and put them in the camel's furniture and sat upon them. And Laban searched all the tent, but found them not. And she said to her father, let it not displease my lord that I cannot rise up before thee, for the custom of woman is upon me. He searched, but found not the images. She was having her period, and if he would have touched it, it would have been unclean, so he's going to avoid it. That's his daughter, and she just says, I got to sit here, Dad, please. And he said, okay, but that's where everything is. He never finds him. They'll come up again. Okay.
34?
And
No, 31st?
No.
Yeah, it's 31st.
No, I'm on 36. And
Oh, I'm sorry.
Jacob was wroth and charged with Laban, and Jacob answered and said to Laban, what is my trespass? What is my sin that thou hast so hotly pursued me? Whereas thou hast searched all my stuff, what hast thou found of all that thy household? Set it here before my brethren and thy brethren, that they may judge betwixt us. Show me what I've taken now. You came here and say I'm stealing things, so show me what I've stolen, For 20 years have I been with thee. Thy ewes and thy she-goats have not cast their young, and the rams of thy flock have I not eaten. That which was torn of beasts I brought not unto thee. I bear the loss of it. Of my hand didst thou require it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was in the day, the drought consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep departed from mine eyes. Thus have I been 20 years in thy house. I served thee 14 years for thy 2 daughters, and 6 years for thy cattle, and thou hast changed my wages 10 times. So you get an idea of what kind of situation Jacob's in. Except the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac hath been with me. Surely thou hast sent me away now empty. God hath seen mine affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked thee yesternight. And Laban answered and said unto Jacob, these daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and these cattle are my cattle, and all that thou seest is mine. And what can I do this day unto these my daughters, or unto their children which they have borne? Now therefore come thou, let us make a covenant, I and thou, and let it be for a witness between me and thee. Now remember, God told him not to do anything to Jacob, and he's going to weasel out of this whole thing here. And Jacob said unto him, brethren, gather stones. And they took stones and made a heap, and they did eat there upon the heap. And Laban called it Jegasahadulatha, and Jacob called it Galeed. And Laban said, this heap is a witness between me and thee this day. Therefore was the name of it called Galeed.
It might be Gilead.
Not yet.
A little.
Yeah.
Oh, I like a little.
And Mizpah, for he said, the Lord, Galeed, and Mizpah, for he said, the Lord watch between me and thee when we are absent from one another. If thou shalt afflict my daughters, or if thou shalt take other wives beside my daughters, no man is with us. See, God is witness betwixt me and thee. To divorce my wife, you're had it, guy. This heap be a witness, and this pillar be witness, that I will not pass over this heap to thee, and that thou shalt not pass over this heap and this pillar unto me for harm. And God of Abraham, and the God of Nahor, and the God of their father, judge betwixt us. And Jacob sware by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered sacrifice upon the mount, called his brethren to eat bread, and they did eat, and tarried all night in the mount. And early in the morning Laban rose up, kissed his sons and his daughters, and blessed them. And Laban departed and returned unto his place.
This spot makes Watchtower.
Right, the watchtower. Now notice how this is ending. What you'll find when you're reading Genesis, if you follow it, they end. These little episodes end. This is over with now. Jacob's going into a new world. It's going to change.
Watchtower, people.
Yeah, I noticed. I was thinking about that.
Maybe they had to go through.
We lost Danny and Zach.
Looks like it.
I guess it's just so interesting for them.
Danny had some kind of podcast she had to go to. I don't
Oh,
know,
okay.
something with Japan.
Oh, no.
She said she'd be leaving about 40 minutes in.
Oh, good. Well,
Okay, 32. Notice if you follow this whole thing is moving forward. And it's the reason why you have this, I think, and as you follow this, we're going to get to the end and see what happens to the tribes. But we're getting a picture of these 12 tribes, how they got started, what they were like. Remember, Reuben back was only 4 or 5. By now he's older. They're still having children, so they're young. It's a young family by all counts. Right. And Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. Now see, the angels of God met him. And when Jacob saw them, he said, "This is God's host." And he called the name of that place Mahanaim. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother unto the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And now notice Edom. These names will come up again.
Mm-hmm.
And he commanded them, saying, "Thus shall ye speak unto my lord Esau, thy servant Jacob." Notice he's got the right, but he's calling him I'm your servant. "Thy servant Jacob saith thus, I have sojourned with Laban and stayed there until now. And I have oxen and asses, flocks and manservants and women servants, and I have sent to tell my lord," his brother Esau, "that I may find grace in his sight." He's trying now to straighten out the situation between Esau and himself. And this is really a beautiful one. Watch what comes out of this and how this is happening, what happens out of this. Because you watch what happens here it's going to change, but not necessarily with Esau. And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, "We came to thy brother Esau, and also he cometh to meet thee, and 400 men with him." Now Jacob's worried. Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that was with him, and the flocks and the herds and the camels, into 2 bands. And he said, "If Esau come to the one company and smite it, then the other company which is left shall escape." And Jacob said, "O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, the Lord which saith unto me, Return unto thy country and to thy kindred, and I will deal well with thee. I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and of all the truth which thou hast showed unto thy servant. For with my staff I passed over this Jordan, and now I am become 2 bands." See, one's on one side of the river, the other one's on the other side of the river. Okay. "Deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he will come and smite me and the mother with the children. And thou sayest, I will surely do thee good, and make thy seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude." And he lodged there that same night, and took of that which came to his hand a present for Esau his brother, 200 she-goats, and 20 he-goats, 200 ewes, and 20 rams, 30 milk camels, and their colts, 40 kine cattle there is, and 10 bulls, 20 she-asses, and 10 foals. Let you know what size of a flock he must have had. This is enormous. And he delivered them into the hands of his servants. Every drove by them pass over before me, and put a space betwixt drove and drove. See, you're going to have them up and put them in parade form, have one group by itself
Okay.
and another group by. So one will pass in front, but when he's looking at the one group that passes in front, he can see the next one coming. And when the next one comes, he can see the next one coming. So he's going to realize there's something going. He's going to have a lot. And he commanded the foremost, saying, when Esau my brother meeteth thee, and asketh thee, saying, whose art thou, and whither goest thou, and whose are these before thee? Then thou shalt say, they be thy servant Jacob's. It is a present sent unto my lord Esau. And behold, also he is behind us.
Mhm.
So Esau will see all these animals coming and all these crowds coming, these people coming. And he's, where's Jacob and all? And Jacob's going to come last. There is something about that anticipation, because when you follow the great Roman triumphal marches, that's how they went. They had the prisoners go first, and they knew this was a triumphal march. And so you'd have the bands playing their music, and all the troops leading some, and then you'll have the prisoners going, and then all more prisoners going, and then the women and children going, because they separated them. And all of these were captive and everything. And then all the wealth that they took, and very last would come the Caesar. So what has happened? It's very much, wow. It's much like if you watch the carnival, if you remember when carnival floats, when they go, how people get excited when a float comes. This is what this is all about. So when the king finally comes, it's made a big impact. Jacob is doing the very same thing. And so commanded he second and third and all that followed the drove, saying, on this manner shall ye speak unto Esau when you find him, and say, moreover, behold, thy servant Jacob is behind us, for he said, I will appease him with the present that goeth before me, and afterward I will see his face, peradventure he will accept me. So when the present over before him, so went the present over before him, and himself lodged that night in the company. And he rose up that night and took his 2 wives and his 2 women servants and his 11 sons, and passed over the ford Jabbok. And he took them and sent them over the brook, and sent over that he had. And Jacob was left alone. Now, again, notice the thing, and there he wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let you go, except ye bless me. See, Jacob knows he's wrestling with the Lord.
The Son of God?
Yeah.
Jesus.
And he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob. This is what the Lord asked him, and he knows it. And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with God and with man, and has prevailed. So see where the name comes from. Now you know where the name Israel comes from.
Mhm.
Jacob wrestling, and it showed he had power. He had the power with man, and he had wrestled with God and prevailed.
Might as well read the last 3, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to do.
Over.
Wait, come on.
29.
Yeah, no, I've got to get back where I was.
29.
Okay.
29.
I know I'm looking at something else.
Okay.
And Jacob asked him and said, tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, wherefore is it that thou dost ask after my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. And as he passed over Peniel, the sun rose up upon him, and he halted upon his thigh. Therefore the children of Israel eat not of the sinew which shrank, which is upon the hollow of the thigh unto this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh in the sinew that shrank.
So he was crippled, huh?
He was crippled from that point on. He was going to limp.
Well, okay.
So he's colored up to this point. He's taken him taking him, and he's going to be meeting his brother Esau.
So,
Any questions on this? Are you getting anything out of this? I mean, is there what I should do? Just explain it, or just go reading it, or what? I think reading may give a little flavor to it, but I don't know where you are in all of that.
I think it's real interesting and explains some things that we had heard about, heard parts of, and it's making it a little bit clearer, a lot clearer.
You may have heard it and not necessarily understood it before.
Yeah.
And you explain it helps.
I think what happens, the more we read anything, any kind of book, and particularly something like the Bible, the more we remember of it. And when we remember, the parts we don't remember begin to tie into the points we remember.
oh God.
And I think when you're watching this is very similar to Abraham's situation. But you see, he's having a lot of problems, and it's not going to change, which kind of gives you the idea God is for these guys, and they still have all kinds of problems. But God sees them through the problems, and the answers always come out much better than under normal circumstances because God is with them. Now we're now on 33.
33.
And I think
Why don't you mark it so I don't have to
See.
tell you?
it's going to be Jacob meeting Esau.
Mark it,
Yeah, I'm going to have to mark this some kind of way.
because I'm not going to tell you. So I'll be wrong.
No, you won't. Okay, everybody got 33. We'll be there next time.
Yeah.
And since there's any questions on this or on anything else? Okay. Oh, how is Anita doing?
Haven't really, well, I heard from her last week. And she was doing pretty well. She had a bit of a setback, but she's got a plan on how to deal with that. Are we recorded? I don't want to say anything if we're recording.
Yeah,
But
no, I know.
I told Rosalie, but she has to make a decision what she wants to do.
Okay. That's usually I was going to call her today, and then I just fell asleep and forgot about it.
It happens.
Oh, does it always happen too often?
Especially on Sunday.
Yeah. Okay, let us close with prayer. Again, Heavenly Father, as we go through this, it seems dry at times until we really look at the dynamic of what's going on here and how you are guiding it all, but you're not taking them out of problems. And in fact, if we look at it, what it shows is that when the children of God make their own decisions, they're usually blowing. But you, in your grace, reach down and change what might be a problem into something totally different. As we go through life, help us to realize that, the more we ask you to guide us, the fewer problems we have. And even when we run into problems, it's not necessarily going to go the way we think they will, because you will bless us. Help us as we go through all of this to get that sense of the blessed life that the child of God has even today, as they go through a life that's unpredictable, but being led by a God who is very gracious. In your Son's name, Father, we lay these petitions before you. Amen.
Amen.
Okay.
Are you ready for tomorrow?
Pardon?
Stay dry this week.
Oh, well,
Yeah. Yeah, more rain. Yeah.
it's helping our garden and we don't have to go anywhere. So,
Yeah,
Oh, we have some places to go.
it's helping our grass, but the grass is so high, the poor dog can't walk through it.
that's what happens when you get these short little dogs, right?
But it's helping the grass out.
Oh, my. Well, that pond you got on the side should be filling up pretty soon.
Yeah.
Well, it drains out fairly quickly.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. It should drains out. I'm sure about that.
We're kind of, it's kind of a ridge right there.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it goes into the drainage really fairly quick.
It looks like it did.
Mhm.
It doesn't back up into the street, it'll back up a little bit
In our yard.
to the swale in the backyard, but
Uh-huh.
that's what it's there for.
But that's what I was gonna say. That's what it's there for.
Mhm.
Yeah, we don't, where we are right at the point here, the water goes around us, goes in the gun around and shoots down everybody else. So everybody else floods, but they don't flood, but I mean, we're going to be one of the last ones if it does, if it ever starts. Okay. Have a blessed day.
Yes, have a good week. We'll see you
Keep in
Sunday.
touch and we will also.
See you next week.
Good.
Yes, take care.
Bye.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye.